Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tammy, and today I am doing part two of how I started my business. Today I'm going to talk more about the legal formation of my business, and hopefully it can help guide you on what to do next as far as getting yourself started. Now, before we get started though on the video, I would like for you to please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you could be notified when the next new video comes out. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. So in the first part, I talked about how I came up with the idea and how I brainstormed everything about my business. Well, in this video, I'm going to move on to how I formed it legally. And it was a journey. It was absolutely a journey to move it from an idea to an actual LLC. So when I have another business and I have a partner with that business. And when we first formed it, I was working at my former job and there were lawyers there. So I had one of the lawyers there help me form LLC. I've never done it before. It was my first time. It was both of us first time doing it. And I went to her because she did it all the time for our bosses, so she helped me with forming it. All we had to do was pay the money, and that was it. We had a official company. But this go around, it was just me, and I had to figure out how to do it on my own because I didn't have her help anymore. No longer work there. All the perks that came with it are now gone. So I found myself stuck trying to figure out what route I wanted to go down. Now, full disclosure, I'm no lawyer by any means, and I can't give full on legal advice. But from what I learned and what I've researched is that when you first start out, if you're going to be selling services or products, you're basically a sole proprietor right off the bat. You don't have to do anything. So as long as you're running under your own name, you are a sole proprietor, which is great because you don't have to pay out any fees or anything like that. But when it came to me, I couldn't work as a sole proprietor. Um, and the reason why is because I have personal assets. So, God forbid something happens and my company gets sued. If I was a sole proprietor, my personal assets would be thrown into that lawsuit. This is what I was told. I did do a free consultation with a business lawyer, and him and his team answered a lot of my questions. But I was told that if I had started off as a sole proprietor, then I would be responsible 100% for anything, and that can include my assets being taken into it. So I had to decide whether I wanted to chance it and go down that road or pay the money to form a LLC and have my personal assets be separate from my business assets, which right now it doesn't really have any, but to be separated from my business. So when you start out, that is something you have to think about, and you have to ask yourself the question of um, what entity do you want to start off as? Do you want to start off as the sole proprietor and continue that sole proprietorship, or do you want to form an LLC? And of course, there is also forming a corporation. But you have to decide for yourself which route you want to go down, and you don't always have to stick with the sole proprietor. Once you start making money, maybe you want to move to an LLC or a corporation. Now, if you decide on going the LLC route like I did, um Next, you have to decide on how you're going to form it. Now, of course, there is the number one out there, legal Zoom, where everybody goes to form their LLC, and that could range from $250 up, depending on where you're located, what you need as far as forming the entity goes. There is also Taylor Brands out there, which caters to a lot of homemade, sorry, not homemade, handmade crafts. And they too also offer a low price on forming an LLC. But I went the third route, which is a registered agent. And a registered agent, basically what they do is they help you form your business entities, and they also serve as kind of like the middleman of all your legal documents that the state sends to you. They pretty much deal with that, and then they ship it on over to you. I could be wrong, but that was what I was told when I spoke to my registered agent for my LLC. And that's something you also want to think about when you're forming your LLC is, do you want do you want to outsource your registered agent? Having a hard time saying that. Or do you yourself want to be that person? I went that route because I live in New York City. And in New York City, one of the wonderful things about forming an LLC here is that you also have what is called a certificate of publication. And while the LLC itself costs around 200 to I believe $200 to form, it is the certificate of publication that really puts the price tag over the top. And that can range from 400, no, I'm sorry, it can range from $700 all the way up to over $1,000. I believe that New York and one other state has certificate of publication. If you live in any other state, this is something you do not have to worry about. But here in New York, if you're forming an LLC, you have to have that certificate of publication, from what I was told, filed. So before I went to the register, I'm just going to say the RA because I'm struggling right now to say registered. Before I went to the RA, I first did Taylor Brands, and I priced Taylor Brands on how much it would cost me. And then I did Legal Zoom. And then it clicked in my head that I also need a certificate of publication, because in New York City, without that, you can do business, but if they find out that you're doing business without it, you can be hit with a hefty, hefty fine. And I don't want to be hit with any fines. I'm trying to do this the right way, so I asked first, emailed, and contacted LegalZoom and Taylor Brands to see if they also include the certificate of publication when New Yorkers are forming an LLC. Unfortunately for me, they did not. So those two options pretty much became obsolete for me, because even if I paid that price, I still would end up paying even more when it came to filing the certificate of publication. So I ended up going to see if our old registered agent, RA, um, for my other LLC was available, and their price tag was pretty high. So long story short, I ended up going with a different registered agent in Albany, and the price tag was actually lower. But once I found the RA that I found, and I paid the price that I paid, which thankfully was under $1,000, because I really thought I wasn't going to form it and I was going to try and take my chance with a sole proprietorship. Once I formed it, the next thing I had to do was look for licenses and permits. And that is another point. What licenses and permits do you need for your business? Now, for candle making here in New York, really the only other license or permit I need was a certificate of authority. And because New York State is one of the states that collects sales tax, the certificate of authority gives you permission to collect those sales tax as a new business owner. And basically, what a certificate of authority is it's a little orange card. It has your sales ID number on it. If you have a brick and mortar, then you must hang it up within your store because you're gonna get inspections. You must hang it up in your store. But if you're like me, it's just something you keep in handy. And when you do like vendors markets or pop-ups or other events where you're selling your products, this is something that you might present to the event planner so that they know that you are authorized to collect taxes and sell here in New York State. I went on to, I believe, nyc.gov and looked up certificate of authority and how to apply online. The questions are a little bit, I want to say a little difficult, but not too difficult, so you can really do it on your own. And the best part about it is it's completely free to apply. No extra money coming out of your pocket after paying for that LLC. So it is free to apply, and they usually get back to you in whether about, I want to say about a couple of hours. I knew I was approved, and then they'll send you out the little orange card. The other thing is a vendor's license or permit. Now, this can be a permanent license, this could be a temporary license. Um, it's also needed for like if you're doing street fairs here in New York City, but they're usually like $10 a month here in New York. I'm not sure about other places where you live. Just go to your .gov or your state's page to see how much the vendor's license is, and you can apply for it online because we are the society where you apply for just about everything online these days. So, and it makes it easier and more convenient. And then finally, the last thing you want to do is get your EIN, which is your employee ID number. Now it does come, I noticed that LegalZoom will put it up there and it is a fee for it. And the same thing with Taylor Brands, there's also a fee. Most of these companies that allow you to apply and set up your LLCs, they do have a small fee for doing the EIN number. I went to irs.gov and I applied for this number online. It's completely free. You don't have to pay for it. You're approved pretty much as soon as you submit your application. So you really don't have to pay for it. It is completely free. So aside from forming your business, whether it's a sole proprietorship, LLC, or a corporation, the other thing you need to think about when it comes to legal is taxes. When it comes to taxes, from what I've heard and researched, a lot of people don't know how to do their taxes. I'm one of them. I can do my personal, but when it comes to business, I am at a complete loss. But what I do know and what I can suggest to you is to make sure from the very start you document all your expenses. Just start keeping track of all your expenses, your startup costs. I did my startup costs, I did my testing costs, just in case they ask, hey, how much, did you spend on testing, which for candles is a lot. You are spending a lot of money on testing candles. I think on testing alone, I probably spent about 700 on testing alone. And that is not a final. So keep up with all your expenses, because when you finally do hire an accountant or you do it on your own and it comes to tax season, you want to have those records of your expenses and what you spend and what you bought in. Just keep a track, keep track of all of those things so that they have it there for when the time comes. Now, there are different programs that you can use out there. The main one that a lot of businesses, especially small businesses, use is QuickBooks. QuickBooks, I'm not on there yet because be honest, I don't have the money to keep up with the subscription right now, but I plan on going to QuickBooks. But on QuickBooks, it is easier to log in your information as you go, and it links up to, if you have an online store, it links up to Shopify, it links to Etsy, and a couple of other sites, so that it makes it easier to transfer the information from that site over to QuickBooks. I have been testing out a couple of other ones out there. FreshBooks is another one. It's an alternative to QuickBooks. They have a free version. um, I believe they have a free version. I was doing their 14-day trial and it just ended. Um, but they're pretty good. But if you can't afford QuickBooks or any other software right now that helps with your taxes and keeping track of your sales and everything, there are alternatives. Um, there is, you can always go to Etsy and get templates from there, and you can use those templates to just keep track. There are a bunch of sellers on there that make some nice looking organized trackers for you to keep track of your expenses, of your sales. They even have some that are geared directly towards Etsy or that are geared towards putting your online sales information on there. Or you can go the free route, which is use Google Excel or Microsoft Excel if you have Microsoft software already installed in your computer. Um, but you want to have something that keeps track of everything that you spend, that you take in. And finally, just find a accounting firm where you can ask for set up a consultation to answer all your questions as far as taxes for your business go. You want to find a firm that specifically deals with business taxes. I need to find one myself for my other company, but you want to find someone who specializes in business taxes because they are definitely different from your personal taxes. Okay, so that was pretty much it for this video. I hope you all learned a little something from my little process that I did there. Well, it's not a little process, it's a big process because now I have this company that I have to grow now. But I hope you all got something from it and it sparks you to now have a little insight on what paths you can go down when it comes to forming your own company, whether it's a candle company, a t-shirt company, consulting service, anything out there. These are things that I learned and had to research, especially when it comes to forming an LLC in New York City and a certificate of publication, which I don't think a lot of people either know too much about or tend to forget. That publication does jack up the price when it comes to forming an LLC. If it wasn't there, then you would just have the articles of organization, and that would be $200 flat. But that was it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the little information, a little tidbit I gave here. It is still early in my journey but I wanted to make sure I talked about it, and maybe down the road I can update this video in the future and add a little more context, a little more in-depth detail to it. Because when it comes to researching and doing things on your own and starting off on your own, you don't always have all your questions answered. So hopefully I can give more detail and insight into it. But that was it for this video. Don't forget to follow me on all my social medias. The link is in the description below. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. And don't forget to show yourself a little more appreciation. So until next time, this is Tammy saying, take care.